me up beautifully.
Podcast live on Instagram.
Woohoo! Our first one, Sarah. We did it.
We did. Hi everybody. I'm Sarah and I'm here with my two beautiful co-hosts.
I'm Kay.
I'm Karen.
We are really excited to do our first live. It's not without its challenges, as you can imagine, but we are here. Hope you can join us. In the comment section, do let us know what you're thinking as we're speaking. So tonight we're going to skip or what's in the world because we wanted to give enough time to this very important topic of identity. So ladies, a couple of weeks ago I went to a conference. It was a work one, professional setting, and I chose to go to a workshop called Who Are You? Or Who Do You Think You Are? Or something along those lines. And it was exploring our identity as professionals, but also it spilled into the personal. So we were put in three groups. If you identified as Black, you sat in a circle and you talked about how comes you identified as Black, where your parents are from, what fed into that identity. If you identified as African, same thing. Interestingly, there wasn't a circle for mixed people of mixed heritage. So yeah, they felt a way about that and they complained because they had to leave one part of them behind. And then there were the Black Brits. I'm looking at Karen. Who also felt they didn't get enough time to talk about why they identified as neither Caribbean or African, but just Black.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Right? Mm-hmm. So I thought we could talk about that tonight because we have varying backgrounds. So I wanted to start with, you know me and my books, currently reading from Ghislaine Killarney, Living While Black. And as a backdrop, she says, it is undoubtedly the case that Blackness covers a huge range of ethnic and cultural groups. Skipping along, she says, the search for a global connection, for commonalities and experiences, and for a shared fate must be balanced against the risk of dilution of important contextual differences. Now, 2 years ago, I would have sat in the Caribbean group. I would not have considered myself Black African, actually. But on this workshop, I sat in the group for African, and I feel like an African woman. So I've done some, I've journeyed. She says these are the things we share in common. These are our commonalities: the melanin in our skin, the shape of our bodies, the breadth of our noses, the thickness of our lips, the kinkiness of our hair, which cumulatively or singularly say Africa to the world. So I'm going to stop there because she's right. For me, Black and African cannot be separate.
Yeah, I agree.
But I chose Black African because my soul feels African.
Okay.
There's no part of me that feels
Black British.
No. No part of me that feels Black British. And I'm feeling a little bit removed from the Caribbean experience.
I'm surprised.
As well.
I thought you definitely say Caribbean.
Yeah.
I definitely thought you'd say that.
I would have thought somebody 2 years ago didn't say I'm a Jamaican. I'd fight you.
Yes.
But I'm feeling a little bit removed because of the colorism, because of the disconnect from our roots and our heritage. A lot of people in Jamaica still don't accept their Africanness. And they feel very disconnected from them, or they might say derogatory things about Africans. So I'm moving away from that. The 20% European in me, I've not made peace with that. I don't want it. So it's really uncomfortable. So I know I have to do some work on that because it's obviously still a part of me. But so I identify as a Black African woman of West African descent via Jamaica.
That is really interesting.
That is interesting.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a journey for you, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah.
Me?
I was
looking at you.
Yeah, I noticed.
Okay, I don't mind going first.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I identify as Black British, and I tell you why I say that. My parents came to this country from the Caribbean. They're both from Jamaica. And yeah, that Jamaican part of me was very, very prominent all throughout my childhood growing up. And yes, I identify as being Jamaican.
Right.
to an extent, okay? Mm-hmm. Having said that, growing up in this country, I now consider myself to be sort of second generation because I'm not from Jamaica. My parents are, as I say, but I was born here. So, and the reason why I think there's a separation in terms of how I feel, it's not that I'm disconnected from Jamaica, but my husband, for example, was from Jamaica. I met him in Jamaica. Uh-huh. He came to join me and live with me here, but I considered him Jamaican.
Right.
And by comparison, I really wasn't.
Of course.
Right, yeah,
but that's the culture, isn't it?
Yeah, so culturally, I felt that... Yeah, there was some disparity in that, I felt.
Did that surprise you, though?
I knew that there would be difference, but to the extent to which there was that difference, yes, I was surprised. I suddenly became very English next to him.
What?
Wow.
I think that's how I felt.
Oh my goodness.
Did you feel very English when you were in Jamaica and met him?
Yes.
Right.
I'll tell you why I say that. Like I said, so my family, as I've said, are from Jamaica, right? So I've been to Jamaica several times, visited. But when I met my husband out there, I was met with sort of, I guess it was just, tongue-in-cheek. It was quite light-hearted. But they would make comments and say things like, taxi, as if, do you need a taxi? You're a tourist. Right. So they would make lots of references to the fact that I was a tourist. And there would also be references to the fact that, he's probably just looking for his stay and that kind of thing. Now, that happens. And I'm not saying... It does happen. And I understand why people say that, but being out there, it just reminded me that actually there is that separation and there is that thought. So yeah, I go back to what I said originally. I do see myself as Black British. I identify very, very strongly with my Caribbean culture and my Jamaican heritage. Love it, wouldn't change it. That's just such a huge part of who I am. However, when I get to work, for example, I don't leave my Jamaicanness, but I find that I do tend to, I guess the Britishness comes out.
Okay, say some more about the Britishness. What does that look like?
Okay, so for me growing up in this country, it means that when I meet someone else who was born in this country to Caribbean parents, we have similar points of reference. So we remember, growing up in a household where there was music, for example, or where there was, reggae music, or where there was food, or, there was a real strong sense of family. We remember the Brixton riots, for example, or we remember I grew up in Bristol, so the St. Paul's riots. So we have that sort of connection. That's what it means to me to be Black British.
Yeah.
Right.
Does that make sense? Or what schooling was like for us, because our parents were from the Caribbean. However, we were then having to sort of merge two cultures because we lived in this country. And that experience was different to, say, when my parents were growing up in Jamaica and growing up in this country. I think of two very different experiences.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Not just the weather.
Not just the weather.
Yeah.
Not just the weather. In behaviour, just in our presentations, I think would be different. So, yeah, I feel like I have two cultures that meet in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel.
Right.
So
Lovers Rock as a genre wasn't something in Jamaica. I never heard it till I came here.
And that's a really good example of the fusion of Jamaican and British culture.
Yeah,
that's a very, very good example. Lovers Rock, Right. That was born out of Black Britishness. Yeah. Or, having
a certain generation, Lovers Rock. Is that a certain generation?
It's my generation, I
Is it?
I would say it's,
Yeah. When I think of that, I think of people who are much older than me. No, not to you necessarily, but I think
I am older than
dancing together.
Yeah. In a shebeen. That's my culture. That's what I saw.
Someone's living room.
Yeah.
Right, so while you were having that, we were having Stone Love and the big sound system.
Well, we had that too. No, we had the Stone Love. Yeah, we had the Stone Love.
Okay.
But Stone Love is specifically Jamaican, isn't it? So they would come over and play.
Right.
So we would go to those dances.
Right.
But if we went to the house parties.
Yeah.
So what would we playing?
You'd hear, we call it revival.
Oh yeah.
Never heard of it.
So yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah,
Right,
so like
yeah.
that kind of old school type of reggae.
Okay.
And then you'd also hear, like what you mentioned, which is our version of reggae. You know, the Janet Cage. Yeah.
Silly games
Silly
played,
games.
and
No,
everybody
that was-
could
yeah.
scream it,
Yes.
barring the top note.
Yeah, we won't say that. No, we won't. But that was a huge part of British,
Right.
Black British culture, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, so there was some dilution then. It
Yeah.
sounds like between what was taken to Jamaica, the Caribbean from West Africa, and then what was then taken here in the Windrush.
Yes.
So the culture gets diluted the further away you went.
Yes.
By the sounds of it.
Yeah, or I guess, I mean, you call it dilution. I guess it's just different, isn't it? It's a bit like, I don't know, grime and grunge or whatever. It's so, it's what's it called?
Grunge.
Grime.
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 Grime,
And
yeah.
is there not another one?
No, it's called grime.
Oh. See, that's how far removed I am. But, so for my children, for example, I
Yeah.
listen to, but that is another example. It's not rap, it's not American
No.
rap.
Yeah, it's a very
And
different
it's not dancehall either.
And it's not
It's-
dancehall. It's a
Oh, you're
mixture.
thinking
It's-
drill. You think about drill.
Drill is what you
that's
might
what
be
I'm
thinking
thinking
of.
about,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Drill.
Correct if I'm wrong, but those sorts of music, they are born out of being Black British, I guess. So you may have
you're right.
Caribbean culture or your heritage might be African. In that, when I say that, I mean your parents may have come from, say, Nigeria or Ghana,
Yes.
for example.
Yeah.
But that is a fusion of music, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
It's where
Yeah.
two
Very true.
cultures meet.
Yeah.
And it's our version.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess that's a bit like,
So I will be in the Black African circle. You'd be in the Black British.
I think I
Circle.
would. Had I been asked that question
Yeah.
at the time, I think I would have gone into that circle, and that is how I would identify, yes.
Okay. Sarah, how about you?
Right. Well, I would have always said Black British, but I'm not so sure anymore.
Okay.
So my mum is half Gambian, half Irish, and my dad is Jamaican. So as long as I can remember when I was a kid, I always kind of leant more towards the kind of Jamaican side.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't know much about the African side. I don't know. To be honest with you, I think the African... it's a journey. I'm learning. I don't really know that much about the Gambia. And I think because I didn't know that much about the Gambia, I leant towards the Jamaican side because I thought that was easier.
Right.
As I've got older, the African side's become so much more appealing. I feel more comfortable
Right.
in general in that side. But would I call I would still call myself Black British, but I'm kind of mixed, aren't I? But I am Black British. It's kind of, it's a bit, yeah.
When you were in Jamaica, did you feel the difference in the way Karen did?
I didn't feel Jamaican at all. I just felt Black British. I felt like a tourist on holiday.
Right.
Okay. It felt very touristy. I love Jamaica. I think Jamaica's a beautiful, beautiful place. But I want to go to Africa, you know? I've been, and I have been to Kenya. I've been to Kenya a long time ago. And my God, that was a beautiful place as well, in a very different way. But I feel it sounds very kind of earthy hippie here, but I don't care. I feel my roots.
Yeah.
I feel I'm in Africa, I'm afraid. It's not in Jamaica, that's for sure.
That's what I'm discovering.
That's my bones inside my, what's the word? When I'm dead and gone,
Yeah.
the red earth of Africa is underneath where I'll be.
Right. So your spirit will go straight back.
Yeah, because when I went
Yeah.
to Kenya, how old I went to Kenya? Like 21 or something, 22, early 20s went to Kenya with my best friend and her family. Well, quite a few of us went. And I'll tell you, in Kenya, I felt good. I felt very different than I felt in Jamaica. I felt very, I don't know, there was something soul-like about Kenya. It's a very, very beautiful place, Kenya. It's a very earthy, it's a whole, I don't know how to explain it. It's just, I felt more whole.
Right. So that's your spiritually your home.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I want to go to the Gambia, because I want to see where that part of me is from.
Yeah.
You know? At home, you know, with the African part of me, and I'm keen to explore further. You know, I'm keen to know more. But do I see myself as Black British? I do. but I feel there's more to me than that. So I'm kind of halfway in between you, Karen, and UK.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And what about the European side of you? Do you feel connected to that part?
No.
Of you? No.
I know. I went to Dublin once.
Yeah.
And I had, it sounds so bad, I had a Guinness and had some pie or whatever.
That is so
And
stereotypical.
yeah, on a trip when I was an estate agent of all things.
Right.
And it was just, I didn't feel, no. But then when I look at, I'm going to try and find, I've got a photo of my grandmother who is like very short and very blonde.
Oh.
And I look at her and I think, okay, I don't really fit there either.
Short and blonde.
Short and blonde.
Wow.
So I don't really fit. So I don't know.
Wow.
I think it's quite complicated for me because all my life I've had people saying to me, as we've done another podcast, where are you from, where are you from,
Yes.
where are you from? And all that jazz. And it's gone into microaggressions and people are like, oh, well, yeah, you've got a nice nose and where's that? Yeah, that must be, the white side or something. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So in answer to your question, I would tick Black British, but am I comfortable with it? I don't know if I am. Because when I'm dead and gone, it will not be in this country. I'm telling you that for sure.
Same.
I
My
don't
kids
want
know
to
that. Don't
be
be there.
stooped over, as we said, with a trolley, through the rain and the cold, thinking, heat or eat.
Heat or eat, exactly.
Heat or eat. Oh, heat or
And
eat.
since we're talking about politicians, no.
No thanks.
No, that's how I'll know I'm dead. If I'm
Then
doing
you're already
that,
dead,
then
aren't
I'm
you?
already
You're
dead.
dead. Yeah.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So does that mean then that children who are of mixed heritage, Black British, born in this country, then have another layer of identity?
I think so, but I think also I wasn't really allowed to talk about being of mixed heritage because people said, well, you're black then. Yes, I am black, but I also have a mix in me of other places, like Irish and, Gambian and obviously Jamaican. But people are like, no, that doesn't really count though. Doesn't count.
Who's
Mainly
who's
black.
gays?
Other black people,
Okay.
males mainly, have said to me that, because I am not a lighty, I am, was it Redbone? Is that right?
I've not heard that term.
I've not
never
heard.
of
I've
that.
heard lighty, but I'm not sure.
Because I'm not a
Redbone.
lighty, but I'm not.
So who's a lighty?
That'd be my mum. My mum is very light she's very light and she's got freckles.
Okay.
So I guess, are they saying that because you have more black
Yeah,
than white, you then become...
but then I'm not. But they've also said, but you're not dark skin. I said, I know. I know I'm not. That's
Wow.
why they called me a Redbone.
So
Right.
is this... So are they
In Jamaica,
suggesting
that's what they called me in Jamaica as
a
well.
red bone.
Mm-hmm.
They don't call me that.
Don't they? Well, they would call it, if it called me that, they call you that, wouldn't they?
You would think
Yeah.
so, but they don't. They don't at all.
So is it to do with complexion then? Are
Yes,
we basing
yeah,
this on complexion?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what Ghislaine was saying. There are the features that say Africa to the world.
That's right.
That collectively black people are identified
That's
by.
right, yeah.
But it is how you feel inside that says, this is who I am to the world.
Right.
So, yeah, we all look like black women and we know that our beginnings or roots are in Africa.
Yeah.
But some people wouldn't feel at home in Africa.
Well, I went to Tanzania about 5 years ago. I took my children and it was fantastic. It was amazing.
Yeah.
We went on safari and because I went with a friend and she's from Tanzania.
Right.
We stayed with her family and it was just amazing.
Yeah.
And I felt very accepted. I felt very comfortable. I loved it. I loved the culture. I loved the food. I loved the people. However, they saw me as Jamaican.
Oh,
Right.
so
So in
Okay.
Tanzania, I became the Jamaican
not
woman.
black British.
No. No.
Oh, really?
No,
Interesting.
they didn't have a concept of what black British would look like. I was just Jamaican.
Right, okay, I see.
So,
Oh,
they would sort of like make comments like, "Yeah, man." And,
Yeah.
You know
But
what?
in
That
fairness,
is just...
though, I don't think they meant that derogatively or
No, it's just the
it was
sound
just
of it.
it's the sound because that's how they saw me.
Yeah.
They knew that I was not from Tanzania.
Yes,
right?
that's
I
right.
couldn't hide
Yeah,
that.
you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
I wasn't from Tanzania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They knew that my accent was British, and yet, I'm black. So they were like, okay, but where are you from?
Yeah,
And then I just
comes
said,
again,
and
doesn't
then,
it? Where are you
and then
from?
you know, yeah, and then then they identified as sort of, you know, Bob Marley, and
Oh God.
I just became. But to be fair,
Oh my
they
God.
may not see very many
Jamaicans.
It's like in Romania. When I went to Romania to my friend's wedding, and it was a lot of us came over. We were black, and we went to this water park, right? And everyone had wigs on. They had bikinis on. The Romanian people, and it wasn't in a big city.
Yeah.
The couple getting married about 3 hours outside, like Bucharest. It was really remote, right? We went. It was cheap as hell. My God. Anyway, we went there. Went to a water park. When we came in, heads turned. So we went to get in one of the pools, and one of the men just said to me, "Oh, you're from Africa, aren't you? Africa."
There you go.
Just like.
There you go.
I'm open like a codfish, like, what? But he wasn't, it's almost like, yes, you could call it racist, but they just haven't seen any black people.
Yeah,
They're like,
it.
oh, black,
Yeah.
you're from Africa.
Wild.
Yeah.
That's it, you're from Africa, because you're black, in the swimming pool. And he's like, he was really excited about it. Honestly.
That's so creepy.
So excited about it. And when we went partying that night for the wedding party, people were the local people were very, very excited about it.
Oh.
Yeah, they were.
I guess you're a bit of a novelty. They hadn't.
That
seen
was it. Yeah.
Many people.
They hadn't seen people. They hadn't seen
looked like
many,
you.
and he thought black person equals African.
Africa.
Yeah.
Which is where we began.
Yes, but I think it was so black and white, literally, wasn't it?
But tush.
Literally black and white.
It was just. I think we were all kind of surprised that he said that in the swimming pool. But
Mind you, having said that,
Oh, we've got a request for someone to join the live video. Do you want to say yes? Yeah?
Okay.
absolutely, yes, please, yeah.
Yes. Very. What have we got?
Who is it?
The Instagram name is muscle_it_bb.
Oh,
I see you now. You've joined us now.
I wonder who requested to join just all of a sudden.
yeah.
It was just a very interesting topic, so I thought I would just kind of.
Oh, your voice is gone, Ben.
No, my battery's a bit.
Oh, there you go.
Battery's low.
Okay.
We're losing you, Ben.
Can you hear me?
No.
Can you hear me?
It's not great.
No, because I'm actually eating as well, which is really bad. So you should never call at the same time. So I do. But no, I think you guys. I heard just part of it, and I think it goes back to something which I kind of stated, which is basically you're seen as where you come from first and foremost. So UK, obviously, you kind of see yourself as like black, British, and so on and so forth. But then when you go outside, people will see you, and people would naturally ask you, where are you actually from? And that's where, so if you remember during the summer or whenever, when there was that big hoo-ha that happened with that Dr. Fulani and stuff like that, where
and Rosie Fulani, yes. Yes,
where they
I
said
remember
where
that very well.
or maybe I've been brainwashed. I don't know, it could be either way, where I naturally say I'm from Ghana before I actually say I'm black British. Do you get what I'm saying to you? So it could be, but what you naturally say is you actually say I'm from Ghana before you then say I'm Ghanaian, British, and so on and so forth. And that's why I think maybe we've almost been indoctrinated to a certain extent that we don't, even though we're born here, we don't see ourselves as British first and foremost, and others outside of here don't see us as, outside. Sometimes they see, which is what I said, sometimes they see you as British, and sometimes they don't. So obviously, it probably depends on which country and whether they're trying to get your money or not, and how much money they're trying to get. They say British, that means yes, they want your pound coins because they know you're coming with pound coins, so naturally they're going to want those pound coins off you and stuff like that. So that's
Then I
my
have a question
2
for
pennies
you.
worth.
Do Ghanaians in Ghana sound like you?
They're very well spoken, but obviously they would sound like me, but with, I guess, with a Ghanaian accent. So they would sound something like this. So how are you doing today? And is your how is so? But they would
You're quite well spoken, Ben. You're quite well. I actually think you're quite well spoken. Anyway, well, you can.
I have
change
my
it.
moments when I can go a bit cockney in that, because from living in South London and so on and so forth.
In the South.
Yeah, so you can get a bit cockneyfied and stuff like that, but generally, obviously try and speak well. But I think certainly you're just brought up. I think each individual family is obviously down to each individual family, but generally everyone's more or less brought up to kind of try and speak properly. And if you don't, because everyone still sees England as the motherland and so on and so forth. So
England as the motherland, not Africa.
well, or like the like, so say for example they're there, people will have aspirations of trying, because obviously it's still hard over there and so on and so forth. So people will have aspirations of trying to get to England to better themselves and then subsequently better their family, because once they've basically once they're in England, obviously they save up and then be able to help people back home and so on. But yeah, I think Ghanaians are generally very well spoken on most occasions. Yeah,
like it's set, but there's a British standard, I guess, isn't there? I suppose for some people, you know, where I can understand what Ben's saying. So if you aspire to come into the UK so that you can, you know, have a better way of life, you can earn more and that kind of thing. You do, I guess, there is an element of wanting to emulate this sort of society and this, you know, and be, even when you say well spoken.
I think it's when he's talking, he just talks with knowledge. I guess that's what I'm thinking. It's
so intelligent.
Yeah. Right. But you are intelligent, Ben. Sweetheart.
Yeah. But I'll leave you guys anyway. Have a good rest of the session. I'm just gonna jump off.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Ben raised an important point about language, because we were colonized to the point where we couldn't keep our languages, we couldn't keep our names, we couldn't keep our identity. So England, I suppose, is seen as the motherland because they were the evil stepmother who came in and mashed up the family. They would be Camilla. Oh God. Right? And Africa.
But they told us that this is what you should sound like.
Right.
In order to move forward and to progress your career or whatever.
Yes.
To open more doors, you should. I call it standard English. So like how newsreaders speak, for example. It's called standard English.
It is.
You are almost accentless.
Yes.
And you adopt a certain neutrality in your speech. Therefore, I guess that's what's taught in school. Because you have to think about, when we learn English in school, we are taught standard English.
That's right.
Yeah, we are.
But also it's the way you're perceived, I think. I mean, it's changed now in life, but I think when I was a child, I know when I was a kid, it was very much, my parents would very much say to me, you speak properly, and it's speaking properly going far in life. And I know what they mean. I know what they mean, because it's not about being, because that's a whole other conversation, but about people all my life have told me, oh, you don't sound like a black person. There's all that.
Episode 2,
So what does a black person sound like? You know, there's that.
Episode 4, I'm pretty sure. It's not episode 2.
Oh, 4.
It's not episode 2, episode 2, spirituality.
Yeah, what do we sound like?
Right.
But then we sound like a hybrid. I think I sound like a hybrid.
You do.
Well, you have an accent.
You do.
Yeah.
So you are very well spoken in that you are very clearly concise, you are very articulate, but you have an accent.
You do.
Good.
I'll give you an example. When I worked, I was doing teacher training and I worked at school in Medway. And I did a lot of cover, so I covered a lot of lessons due to teacher absences. Now that can be a grueling experience. It's very, very hard because you go in, the kids don't really respect you, they don't care, you're not their normal teacher, they think, oh good, it's a docile, I can run right. So I worked really hard, I worked tirelessly because they were going to do as they were told. Yeah, because I needed them to behave appropriately for the hour that I was going to be there, right? Anyway, we had lots of other teachers come in, and many of them who were black had very, very thick accents from various places. I mean, there was a particular man I remember who came from Nigeria. And the children responded to him very, very differently than the way they responded to me. And it was very, very evident. I could see that. I remember one day he was trying to take the register or something, and they were just talking all over him. They were just not listening. And he was continuing to take the register. So I said to him, actually, sir, I wouldn't speak unless they're silent. I would just wait.
So do I.
You just wait. And if it means you've got to keep the minute break, whatever. Because you do. Once you allow them to talk over you,
they won't stop.
And so I remember thinking, I wonder if they respond to me differently because I sound like them. I felt that there was that commonality. Even though I am black, my skin is black, but I sound like you. Therefore, they felt as if we had something in common. That was, I guess, my way in. So where we think that accents don't matter, or I think they do. I think it does.
Yeah, they do.
You know, I've had people say to me, I had a social worker, couldn't understand what they were saying. I don't want a social worker. Now, we know lots of social workers come from other countries.
That's right.
And they do have accents.
Now, they do.
As a society, should we then? Well, I think we should be trying to understand what they're saying. If you don't understand them, just say, excuse me, I didn't hear
They
that.
are speaking English. We were colonized.
They are speaking English. But I think it's just interesting where it's, I guess, being a social worker, it's quite a personal thing, isn't it? You're having somebody come into your home, challenging your parenting, I guess, is the perception, not that it's necessarily the case. But I think for a lot of people, they want to be able to identify with the person who's come into their home. And then lots of times they find that is a barrier.
Well, that's how our ancestors felt when they rocked up to Africa with their foolishness and religion.
Absolutely. I'm not saying,
I feel like they should suffer and squirm now because we've had to do it.
And what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that they're right to feel that way, not at all. I'm just relaying what has been said. And I'm just looking at how we all come together then to be accepting of everyone, because people do have accents. You know, you could come from Northern Ireland, for example.
That's right.
Scotland.
My daughter's school, her head teacher's a very strong Irish accent. He was up on the stage in the Christmas play, and I struggled to understand what the man was saying about the children. I think everyone was like, no idea what he said. And he was Irish, you know? So
it's not necessarily colour, it is. I mean,
accents everywhere, isn't it?
It's only now that I think on TV we're starting to embrace more accents. So you have newsreaders from different places
That's
because they recognised that actually, we should celebrate. We should. And it doesn't have to be standard English. I think we're moving away from that, but it's taking some time.
In terms of the Black British experience, then, the patois that I hear on the street, I even hear little white children say, "Clot." What? And SYM, and I'm thinking, what? I didn't need to say that. But Jamaican patois is almost like it's a thing that people want to speak, they want to hear it, and they definitely understand it.
Oh, of course they do.
So the same thing could not be applied to Africa?
I don't know.
As in terms of the accents, where it becomes something that you are excited to learn.
Do you know what's interesting? I think that things change, right? So I think we go through different trends, I would say. So, for example, when my parents came to this country and I went to school, there were very, very, very few children of African background. So, children whose parents were directly from Africa. So, I remember we did have a girl, a friend of mine, and her parents were Nigerian. And my goodness, that child got bullied.
Okay.
Yeah, because I guess it's different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? So, for a time, when my parents came here, there was a lot of, racism. Not that there isn't now, but it was extreme, right? You had like no blacks, no Irish, no dogs in the window.
Right, yes, that's right,
You could, my parents couldn't rent anywhere, that kind of thing. So you had all that. And then reggae came on the scene and Jamaica became really cool.
Yeah.
Right?
It stayed that way.
It stayed that way. So it's really cool. And they want to emulate our speech. Or they like the whole,
everything about it.
They like everything about it. And it is really, really cool. But there was a time when it wasn't necessarily that cool. Look at Afrobeats. Afrobeats,
I remember Afrobeats coming in.
Yeah, do you see what I mean? Like,
I love Afrobeats.
I love Afrobeats. So what I'm saying is, I think it's a time, isn't it? So now
You're so new.
we are now we are really embracing it. Think about how popular Afrobeats has become.
Massive.
True.
It's massive.
I heard it in Jamaica bash it out.
So it's like trends come,
Right.
and certain things are come into fashion, and we want to emulate these things.
That's right.
So I think it goes full circle, doesn't it?
Baby hairs. I think that people with shiny wigs with huge
And the aggressive baby hairs, please stop it.
baby
Baby hairs belong to babies. Please.
My daughter had the most best baby hairs you've ever seen. When she was born, those baby hairs, I tell you.
Exactly, they love their babies.
Yeah, my daughter still has baby hair.
Yeah.
See, I associate that with sort of, I don't know, what is that? Is that like,
This is a trend.
yeah, it's
So people are actually getting them tattooed onto their heads.
wow.
So when they're old ladies, they look very weird, aren't they?
Oh my god.
Wow.
That looks so stupid.
I know, they do. They have them tattooed, or they try and kind of stick them down. They get them as wisps and they stick them on with glue.
I think we've lost something in terms of the diaspora, because on Twitter there's a lot of diaspora wars. Black Americans calling Black Brits all sorts of names, then Black Americans attacking the Caribbean, and let me tell you, we clap back.
Mm-hmm.
They come for us and we smoke them and they don't learn.
Who would you say comes for us the most? What do you
Americans,
say?
Black Americans.
But that's I think Black Americans are
For
very
Jamaicans, they disparage Jamaicans,
Yeah.
they disparage Black Brits, they think you are almost beneath them in a way.
Because they are. Yeah. African Americans.
And same for those in Africa as well. I'm thinking, where does your blackness sit? Because you look like us. So why are we
I
warring?
think they have they seem to, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they seem to have their own identity.
They do.
Like, so African Americans, they see
yeah.
themselves as African
Yeah,
Americans.
that's right.
They understand that their roots are in Africa. However, they are a people.
Of African
And I think that so for me, Black Britons have less of that.
Yeah,
we
we do.
have less of that. I don't think we have such a strong sense
They're
of
very African Americans, very proud to be African
They
Americans.
are. And I think
In itself,
Yeah.
African American
it's a people. They are
that's right.
a group of people. They identify.
But in America, when I've been to America, it's just the way it is in America.
Yeah.
Everyone is segregated. That's pretty much how it is. And you're proud if you're Hispanic, if you're Latino.
Yeah.
You're proud
Right.
if you are
Right.
African, and it's all quite stereotypes. I think when I've been over there as well, a lot of Hispanic people are Catholic and they're proud to be Catholic, and
Right.
You can have different blocks, too. Because I remember being in New York, and you have like the Hispanic block,
That's
or
right.
the Jamaican block.
and everyone likes that.
Yeah.
They like that.
Yeah.
People expect that's the way it is.
Having said
Yeah.
that, something else I wanted to just touch on is that I have friends, like I said, from African countries. So Kenya, Tanzania, Nigeria, Ghana. And I found that a lot of, not my friends necessarily, but people who I was introduced to within that community, I found that they didn't see me as African.
Right.
No.
Your African friends don't see you as African.
So not necessarily my friends.
Okay.
I wouldn't say my friends, but people that they've introduced me to. So the wider community.
Yeah.
Didn't see me as an African woman. They didn't
I would
look at
agree.
me
They
like
see me as a Caribbean woman.
They see
They wouldn't,
me as a
they wouldn't see me either.
No, they don't.
Yeah, that's right.
So as much as we want to penetrate that society or that culture, and I'm not saying that we're not welcome to it, but I feel that there is some disparity between Africans and Caribbeans.
Well,
I remember once going to a party. This is just one person. I'm not saying this is the whole community, but I'm saying I went to a party and this man said, "You do realise that Jamaicans are the descendants of slaves, don't you?" I was like, "Oh my goodness."
You taught me something new there. Unless I've been living under a rock for 20 years.
But he felt that he needed to point that out.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, I don't feel in that moment it was like I guess it was just evident of what I think some people do feel that there is a separation.
But there is, because those that got to stay in Africa
And keep their names.
keep their names, their tribal rituals, their
Yeah.
dances,
Yeah.
their multilingual way of communicating.
And the practices,
And they're very rooted and grounded and can be considered a family in general. Look at the difference between
you can tell that we've had our culture, that's right, destroyed.
Yes. And so we feel like the rejected stepchildren in the Caribbean because they don't embrace us willingly either.
That's what I'm saying. So as much as we may want to say, we belong and I'm not saying that we don't, that we shouldn't. I'm just saying that sometimes we are not met with the open arms that we would like.
True.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm going to be going back and claiming my things. I will be the outside child rocking up to claim what was mine. I want to learn to speak Yoruba. I want to learn how to dance in that way.
So what would you choose then? When you say Yoruba, that's
Nigeria. So majority percentage of my DNA is Nigerian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 25%.
So that's where you're heading for your...
No. I think I'm going to end in Ghana because I was with some Ugandan women last night, Rwandan Ugandan women, and oh my God, it was a joy. Mm-hmm. But the way they would switch between languages, and my friend Patience, she said she speaks about 11 different languages. Wow.
That's really impressive.
Isn't it?
Really impressive. Women speak one. They say hello in French.
Right. But you can see the difference in identity. They are so grounded.
Equally, when you think about patois, I would say that a lot of people were discouraged from speaking patois. It was like
you were beaten to speak it in school. You couldn't speak it in school
because it's like a yard language. Almost. It's not professional. You don't go out speaking like that. So really, we've had it tough. We haven't been able to embrace the little culture that we had.
True.
We've had to get rid of it. It's not good enough. It's not.
There's a massive difference. I've noticed a huge difference, and I don't think, obviously, I wasn't noticing it before between. As you said, African people that are grounded in their values and family and life in general. Self-worth, you know what I mean? And Caribbeans.
I think Nigerians love themselves more than Jamaicans love themselves, and I didn't think that was possible.
No, is it?
Well, they do. I mean, oh my God, they love themselves. They are so proud.
But they love themselves in a grounded way, I feel, where a Jamaican is not so grounded.
We're not grounded at all.
No.
We have issues we need to work through, and that's why I feel a little bit more removed from the culture, because where I'm willing to have that uncomfortable conversation and to move away from the proximity to whiteness that's the standard. I feel like many Jamaicans are still stuck there. Even the way they wear their hair, me wearing my hair like this is considered, oh my God, you're not sick. What happened to you?
Oh, really?
Yeah, man. They prefer the weaves. Okay. And dreadlocks, rastas are still on the outskirts. Dreadlocks are still seen as unprofessional in Jamaica.
Really? In Jamaica?
Yeah, man. Yeah. I think I'm moving away from that because that's just still too colonial and plantation for me.
That's really interesting, and I would really like to hear the views of others about this. So if you have any views, please do get in touch. We'll tell you how to do it in a minute. But actually, I would really like to hear other people's views on this because I think this is really important. When you say that, so I think it's changing slightly. So I do have family members still in Jamaica who have stopped relaxing their hair, for example, because they are kind of, on your wavelength. They're saying, let's move away from those things. But you're quite right. Up until quite recently, a lot of people relaxed their hair.
I remember the whole thing about it,
hair would be relaxed.
That's right.
I found that a lot in Jamaica.
I remember all that natural hair movement. I remember that and I can't imagine I will never relax my hair again alongside short hair. I just would never promote my daughter to. Obviously, it's up to her if she wants to, but I'd never promote. She's never seen that. She's never seen it.
But I think we've come a long way from that. However, there's still a long way to go. And I'm not saying that if you do relax your hair, it's wrong. I think it's up to you.
It's up to you.
But I think we have started to embrace our natural hair and other things that we can do. I mean, that's a whole other episode, isn't it?
We did
had a hair episode.
Yeah. It's still Jamaica to me is still very much colonized. Our barristers are still wearing the white wig. What the hell?
Oh, okay, well that's
we're still representing England, who hates us. And
but you have to think where that's coming from, though. I mean, the Queen was head of state.
Barristers are just
it's tradition.
And it's the Queen's palace.
And it's really hard to kind of break away from it.
I don't think you'll ever break away from that.
Really?
No. I've got a friend who's actually a barrister, or an acquaintance, rather, not so much a friend. But she takes great, pride in her. There's a name for it. I forgot the name.
Yeah, and that white wig.
Wig thing. Yeah.
she loves it, and the gowns and getting ready for court, and it's a whole kind of routine. And it's seen as massive prestige that she's got managed to be in court wearing that. That's taken her years.
I don't think it's to do with being white or.
No, it's just to do with.
I think it's to do with law. It's their practices.
When you actually get to wear the wig, whatever it's called, and wear the gowns in court, you've done it. You've made it. You can actually. She said arguing in court. She said with that wig on, gave her so much confidence.
I would quite love to have my ancestral name. I have it, but I'm not using it. I don't want to have a plantation owner's name anymore.
Interesting you say that.
Yeah. Karen, please. I don't even look like a Karen, let's be honest. What does a Karen look like?
Looks like you two.
Blonde, small, aggressive, highlight. She looks like you, right?
You are a Karen.
I know.
You're rejecting the Karen. Oh, interesting you say that. So I have 2 sisters and a brother. Told you this before, but
yes.
The purposes of the program. They changed their names. So they were Rastafarians, I think, back in the 80s, I want to say. And they followed the Rasta movement. They felt like you. They wanted to go back to their roots and change their names. By default, they changed both first and second names and gave their children African names. And they, it was something they felt very strongly about, and they kept their names. My mum doesn't use their name.
Oh, really?
I think for my mum, it's just very different, isn't it?
That's the name I gave.
That's what she's used. So, they don't. Mum. But yeah, so they use their African names. Like I say, the children with African names. Interestingly, their children have had children, and they haven't chosen African names as such, but they've sort of chosen names that are personal to them. So you might have like where they've shipped the name of mum and dad. Or they might have chosen a name that wouldn't be in the shops when you're buying a water bottle, let's say.
Nice. I never find my name. No, I said it's okay, no, it's all right.
Those sorts of names, but you're just not going to find them, right? They're not going to be Wilkins.
No, but they still hint at you not being European, right?
Yes, but there's a nod to us making, because I think that's the other thing with Jamaica, I would say, is that because we don't really have a language as such, I know we have patois, but it's not the same as a language, and therefore we don't have traditional names to pull out of the hat, do we? Because, but Nigerians sometimes, I've heard of people having these long naming ceremonies, it's a whole ritual. We just don't have it.
Ghana, your first name is the day you were born.
That's right. Yeah, that's correct. It is, it is.
That's really interesting. Yeah. So that's what's happened in my family, where, like you, they wanted to feel more rooted in Africa. And like I said, they kept their names.
Do you use that?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Just mum.
Whole family gets mum.
So as not to repeat what happened at the conference, I know we're 10 minutes to the hour. I wanted to spend a few minutes on the experience of mixed race people in this country. So I'm going to go to Carla's book, Native.
Oh, we love Carla.
We love Carla. And he writes about growing up in England, Scottish mum, Jamaican dad, and discovering at 5 that he was black and mum was white. And that horror moment when he's come home to tell his mum of a racist experience, being called a racist name. And he goes, the white boy. And then he's gone, oh, my mum's white.
It's interesting.
Yeah. And he said she held it well, but her black mentors told her that he would be received and dealt with in this society as a black boy. He says, my light skin would not save me. This was not Jamaica or South Africa. I was not high-colored here. So this is where colorism was,
High-coloured, what's that?
Light
skin. Right. But a black boy born of a white womb.
Wow.
That's
interesting. Yeah.
Yes. So.
Yep. Very interesting, isn't it?
It must be so conflicting at times to reconcile both parts of yourself and identity when you have two such distinct and separate identities and lineage.
I found also being adopted by 2 white people, I found that it wasn't like I didn't know I was black, because I did know I was black, But I didn't have any black experiences because I was raised by 2 white people.
Right.
So that in itself was quite
Yeah.
And what does that mean to be a black
I didn't
girl?
feel, let's just say I knew I was black, but I didn't feel black
Yeah,
until I was older and surrounded by
Right.
black people. And when I moved to London, I remember I went to Stockwell when I came to London.
Yeah.
I was 18 and I just felt, oh, thank God for that. And actually, this is something I actually called my parents saying, I am in this place called Stockwell. And there's lots of black people. My dad's like, that's great, Sarah. That's really good.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I was like, exactly. I wandered around Stockwell.
excited.
I was excited. I wandered around Stockwell. I remember I went in and got myself a fizzy drink or something. And I walked. It sounds crazy, doesn't it? But I think it needs to be said. I walked back and forth. I walked around Stockwell for hours.
Oh, wow.
Feeling my own blackness.
Yeah.
that is
How weird is that?
Yeah.
Well, I've even shared that before. But hey ho, it's now on Instagram.
How do you feel? Is it a good thing?
Oh, it was a relief. It was so, oh my God, I felt like so much relief.
So where had you, the place that you'd grown up then, had you not seen a lot of black people in that
No,
area?
I was the only black person in my school, guys.
Okay, that's hard.
Ouch.
I got a cool award. I had braids and I was black, and I won an award. I won a cup. Can you imagine that even now? The school
would be dry.
Yeah, I won a cup for being cool because I was black.
Is that called for being black?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it at the time?
I did. People loved it. They were like, "Wow, that's so cool," and everyone loved it. Yeah.
Oh my
I think that's why I didn't get bullied.
Yeah,
Just because you were like, "Wow, so cool."
That wasn't was that a state school?
No, it was private school.
Oh, that would make sense.
Yeah.
The state school, they would let you know.
It was.
Did you not experience any racism?
No.
No racism. That's interesting.
No, zero. Absolutely zero. It was the cool award. It was the cut. It was you're black. You've got braids. You are so cool.
I'll take that.
That's okay. Yeah. All right then. Yeah. Can you imagine that? Now it always makes me chuckle. I won an award for just being black. That is mad.
I suppose that's one of the more positive stories, no?
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of stories.
Maybe you were really cool though. Maybe you were really cool.
I must have been. Mustn't I? Because I wanted that cup.
Karen, you said you were going to let the listeners know how they could interact with us.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Now, if I remember the telephone number, that would be really helpful.
Oh
Wouldn't it?
wow, that's so
I can't help you this time.
Well, if you are on our Instagram live, just drop us a message. That would be great. Telephone number, I'm not so sure that it will ring and we will answer it. We're on live.
No. So just message us.
message.
DMs.
Yeah.
Abuse the Melanated podcast. The same thing that you're watching now.
Yeah. Do.
That'd be
Do.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay.
So you guys were talking about whether you would claim Africa as your home. I
Yeah.
want to ask the reverse of that. Would you ever claim Britain as your home?
Oh,
No, absolutely not. With not a cell in my body would.
It's my home now because I literally live here, but it's not where I want to die. I said that I don't want to. I don't want to age here. That's my main thing. Whatever happens, I'm not aging here. I refuse to.
I don't want to live or die here.
Well, you never wanted to be here.
Do you know, interestingly, right? So it is my home, and I'll tell you why it's my home. Not only was I born here, but my family are here.
Yeah.
My immediate family are here. So for me, this is my home.
Do you want to age here and pass here?
Not necessarily, no.
So what's the reason behind that? Because you all are saying that.
Well, that's just because I think quality of life is
It's just not. It's just a
quality of life is really, really difficult. I've seen other people in other countries where they are comfortable, right?
Oh,
They can afford, a nice home,
They
good
can afford
health.
help.
Yeah.
You know, they can afford help. As in, if they needed someone to come in and...
Oh, hell. Oh
my God.
Because you're old, you don't want to be cooking, cleaning, washing,
Mind
ironing,
you,
all that
I
at
have
80.
I have seen some really poor examples of home health. I have seen
both. I have seen both.
So I hear what you're saying, but that's another topic.
I would prefer their tea from me than this government tea from me. Make the help and then take the tea.
It's not even that. I'm saying I've seen in some countries where there are people who are helpers who I think should have been in school, for example.
Okay.
Oh, that's okay.
That's different child labour.
Yeah,
That's
child
different.
But for those families, that is the home health.
I see.
I see.
Yes.
I guess that I've had experience of people telling about the home help that's been someone that's been with that family for many years, and by them employing this person, it's afforded them to have a decent life for their family.
So there's good and bad. All I'm saying is I've seen good examples and I've seen good examples.
Definitely.
But yes, you're right. I could afford to say to someone, could you come around once a week and clean for me? Which I can't. I cook my jollof.
Yes. It'd be wonderful
to
come back. And my chicken stew. Thank you very much.
Even just, being able to build your own house mortgage free.
That's right.
I'm talking about those sorts of things. I'm talking about what it would be like to live somewhere else where I could afford to eat well.
That's
and
right.
from the land as well.
Food is an issue here in this country.
Food is an issue.
I just want to eat better food. And it's so expensive to eat crap food.
I want to be in the sun as well. Absolutely. So the weather is really bothers me. It gets to like October and I'm just...
I agree. It affects me deeply.
So in that sense, do I want to stay here? Not necessarily. But currently, it is my home. It's where my family reside. It's where my children are born. It's where my children live. So yes, it is my home. And sometimes I go to other places and I think to myself, England's awful, but it could be worse.
I'll say England. At least we're not at war. That's I can say that England at the moment. We're not at war. It's as safe as it could be. Obviously, things can change, but right now, today as we are, I feel it's as safe as it could be compared to living in other countries.
Yeah.
For example, I've gone to the States.
I wouldn't live in America.
And I think I don't think I would live there. I've visited several times.
They've left too much gone.
But there's lots of things about it I don't like. I think, you know what? Actually, England's not so bad.
The States, I like to visit. I do love America. Yeah. I would never live there. I had the opportunity to live there once, and my God, it didn't happen. I sort of lived there.
I'm glad.
In Miami. But that's a whole nother story.
Imagine now having to learn how to avoid school shootings.
That's what worried me. So I was watching a documentary about that, actually, and that's what worried me. The people in the documentary saying is, however they raise their children, whatever they do, when they leave the house, they're up against, people with guns and
it's a lot.
And police violence and racism is different.
And I think there's less help. I think that capitalism
there is less help.
And there's less help. I've got family members who lived in the States for a long time. Someone I'm thinking of particularly came back because it's just too hard.
It's massive.
When you're on your own.
You have to. I mean, I have a friend that married an American guy, and she loves it over there. But I think it's just very. I don't know. It's just very trigger happy over there. They're just too hot with those guns. And there's always school shootings now,
or just shootings generally. It feels too wild for me. That feels the most uncontained, unsafe place. Even though Jamaica has these issues of crime and gun crime and crime, it's not like that. No,
America actually in the documentary I saw these people they're living out on an Indian reservation out in Arizona, and they said often what would happen is people would come from a major city and they would shoot someone if they didn't get on with them and dump the body in the reservation.
And
it would happen all the time. So imagine that. It's just like
what is this about black bodies that makes it so up for violence?
No, it's just crazy, isn't it?
Mind you,
wow.
Yeah, I think that's one side of it. There are lots of wonderful things about America. I don't want to sort of say. I have family there. America. That's coming nice about it. And I remember thinking when I was out there, they do have a sense of their own blackness. And they sort of created their own culture, haven't they? And when I went to Atlanta, Georgia, for example, Atlanta is thriving with affluent black families.
Yeah, true.
It's home to a lot of black celebrities. They've made their own wealth.
Very true.
So I love that side.
We'd be accepted there, wouldn't we? Let's be real. We'd be accepted straight away.
And I feel like they've done better at that than Black Britain.
Oh, 100%.
Right? So so I remember coming to live where I live now, and I've never seen so many affluent black families.
I love it.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Whereas in the States, like I say, there was that, that was the norm.
Yeah.
And where I live now, I see more of that. But growing up, I didn't.
You didn't see it.
No, not that being working class, there's anything wrong with that, not at all. But that's really what I saw. I never saw a lot of.
You didn't see progression.
Not really.
Yeah. In America, I think it's two separate things, isn't it? Either incredibly poor or they're absolutely rolling in it.
What I loved about growing up in Jamaica is that everybody looked like me. So your surgeon, your teacher,
your pharmacist, your dentist, everybody looked like you. It made a huge difference to my identity formation because to me, Black is excellence. I saw Black excellence and I also saw the other side. Whereas in this country, I feel you have to really go dig in and get the excellence, and then people shoot you down immediately like, no.
Yeah.
10 other white people.
Which I kind of have another kind of joint question to that. Do you think, when you think of Britishness, do you think there is a space for Black people within Britishness, particularly with the accent thing you guys were saying earlier? Because notice how the accents we're more accepting of. Do you think there is a space where they can both kind of coexist?
I think that's what's happening now. I think that's what we can see. So, for example, children at school, white and black, they're a roadman. Everyone's a roadman because it's cool.
That's true. Yeah, that's the thing. There is definitely space for it. Yeah, there is.
My daughter was saying to me, this girl, she's Russian, and she's a roadman.
Well, she could be. Well,
so my daughter and I, we were rolling. It was just funny, but it's cool. So definitely, I feel that we are establishing ourselves as a people.
Yes,
we have a culture. It's growing with is it the grime?
Grime, drill. But I don't think we should be going known for drill because that's got a very bad rep. Grime, yes, okay, cool. Drill, no.
But what I'm saying is, even with that, if you spoke to someone who wrote that kind of music, they would probably say, this is the reality for them.
Of course, I like that Dave.
Where they're coming from.
I love Dave. Yeah, and his albums are amazing. Yeah, yes, that's his life.
That's his life.
I agree, yes,
So I hear what we're saying. It's negative to us and there's a lot of, crime attached to it. But if he's saying, this is my reality.
I like that. That's what I like.
I'm singing about what I know.
That's true,
so we have to embrace that also.
100%. 100%.
I think there's a space, but we have to carve it out. They're not giving it up willingly. It's a fight.
I think we're carving.
You think we're carving?
Yeah, we're carving.
We've still got a way to go because on TV it's still kind of, Black people are still kind of, I don't know, sitting up in the States and selling drugs still. It's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
There's a few programs filtering through which I love.
Apart from Top Boy.
I love Top Boy,
but I feel like that's where it belongs.
Yeah.
But in other, you're right, in other
I'd like to see Black excellence more.
I'd
I'd like to see, and I loved it all. I love Top Boy, I absolutely love it. But I just want to see more of Black excellence. I want to see people like us on TV.
I've started to see more dramas where the families just happen to be Black.
That's true.
I've seen quite a few.
Not mixed.
Not mixed.
Black.
I can't remember now.
I mean, white people absolutely lose their shit when that happens. The complaining and the carrying,
especially in adverts.
Especially in adverts.
And that's just crazy.
When Loose Women had an all-black panel, they went bonkers. They were frothing at them.
People got too much time on their hands.
They have.
Move on.
Be our home help.
With that, thank you very much, peeps.
So I'm going to end by saying I'm a Black African woman. I want to be draped in gold. I think I was royalty. I want to walk around Africa barefoot, wearing captains, smoking the good stuff, and living off the land.
Yeah, which you will.
Thank you.
With your African
business, I hope.
Yes, an African mate. Yeah. Okay.
Final words, you two.
Final word. Just basically, thanks very much for tuning in, guys. It's our first live. Hopefully we shall do some more. Please feel free to leave your comments if you're not subscribed or following us, please do follow us. We also have a YouTube with the same name as our Insta. Yeah.
So I'd just like to end by saying I consider myself to be Black British, but I hope to retire somewhere where it's very nice and warm, where the quality of life is better than the one I'm currently living. But I just want to echo what the ladies have said. Thank you so much for joining us. It's our first live, and we hope that there'll be many more.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
We are beautifully